Welcome to Technado with Don Pezet, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pezet, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pezet. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and we are joined by Don Pezet. Don, how's it going?
Hey, it is going great. You know, it's the holiday week. Everybody is settling in for Thanksgiving, which is nice, but we're a dedicated staff of podcasters here. We want to keep bringing you the tech news, even in spite of American holidays.
Exactly, and we had Ronnie in here last week filling in. It did not work out, so we've got Daniel back. Daniel, how's it going?
I'm good. I would like to say that if I think of one word that does describe Don Pezet, it would be spite. So just want to put that out there.
All right.
Makes sense.
There we go.
And I'm going to have it really easy this week because everybody is basically the same relative name for me. So we're joined today by Dan Cornell, who's a CTO and principal at Denim Group. Dan, how's it going?
Tip top.
Fantastic. So we got two Dans and a Don. I cannot go wrong there.
That is a late 80s movie or early 90s movie waiting to happen.
3 Men and a Baby,
Yeah.
2 Dans and a Don, My Two Dads, something like that.
My two Dans.
My two Dans. That's it. And you're where? San Antonio, is it?
Based out of San Antonio, Texas, right?
Where my one of my favorite childhood movies was filmed. Daniel,
The Alamo?
guess?
No, I'm going to say that it was Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger.
Nailed it.
That's right.
Had the whole
Because it was
Riverwalk scene.
awesome.
Because it was an amazing
So
movie.
I showed that movie to Taylor on a flight, I think out to San Francisco, or no, he didn't go to San Francisco, but it was on a flight. He loved it. He was like, "This was awesome."
I'm surprised it has not been ruined with a remake with like Zac Efron now or something.
That's a good point. Hopefully, you just shut your mouth because
Somebody out
someone's hearing this.
Well, luckily, they're not listening, probably, sadly. All right, well, we've actually had someone from Denim Group on before, but we want to go ahead and still get to know you a little bit and get to know about the company in our first segment, Rapid Fire Questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Dan, in this segment, we are going to be throwing some questions at you. You'll have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. If you go over, Peter will buzz you.
Oh, shoot. Hold on.
Or he will make a noise with his mouth.
Check your time here. All right, so you'll have 1 minute and 7 seconds before you get buzzed. And we'll rotate through each of us, just a chance to get to know you really quickly. And the first question is coming from Peter.
So, like I said, we had John Dixon, one of the other principals, on about 18 months ago or so. But for the viewers that have forgotten in that time, it's been a while, can you refresh us a little bit about who the Denim Group is?
Yeah. So it's a Denim Group. We work with organizations to help them more repeatably build secure software. And so that's, again, working with them both on the advisory and testing services side, looking at the software that they've built, helping build threat modeling, secure coding training, secure code reviews, application assessments. And then we've also got our ThreadFix platform that is a software platform that organizations use to manage their application or software security program. So it lets them collect, here's all the teams we have around the world in our organization developing software. And here's all the applications that they are responsible for. And then you can load in the results of all of the different security testing activities and manage those results through to resolution. And then again, by doing that in a central location, you have access to metrics and reporting so you can help drive better maturity in those practices.
Now, Dan, the word on the street is that you are the original creator of ThreadFix, ThreadFix. I always want to say ThreadFix. ThreadFix, which is your security program management platform. Could you walk us through a little bit of your thought, your mindset of the process that you went through when you were creating that?
Yeah, and so we, the kind of the origin story for ThreadFix is we were in an organization and saw them, first do some testing with a web application scanner, generated a 300-page PDF with a color graph on the front, handed that to the dev team and said, fix this stuff. Wandered off. Then they came around doing some perimeter web scanning with a different scanner later, generated a 200-page PDF with a different color graph on the front, handed to the dev team and said, here's more security stuff that you need to do. And unsurprisingly, the development teams pushed back and said, these guys are wasting my time. And so, that led us to look and say, everybody here is acting in good faith, trying to do their jobs, but there are real challenges with data management and data communication. And so we set out to solve those problems.
And all the money you saved on the color printing, too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, I know a lot of companies have come to terms with the fact that security is a thing they actually need to pay attention to. And so you are seeing companies do a lot better. We do use a lot of managed services, a lot of web applications, and the security management space is getting a little bit crowded. We see a lot of different products kind of in that spot. So what is something that sets ThreadFix apart from everybody else that's in that market?
Yeah, well, and so ThreadFix is in the area of application security, helping your dev teams that are doing cloud native development, right? And it helps to make sense of a lot of those other tools. And so if you think you're doing static analysis with one vendor, dynamic analysis with another, software composition analysis, network scanning, and coming up, container security scanning, ThreadFix helps to make sense of all of those data feeds so that you can get a one single picture of what your security posture for your applications look like. And that's really where we've stepped in to help organizations solve those problems.
So I remember back when we did the interview with John, we were talking about, he was telling us how he gets emails all the time from suppliers in China asking if they can be the ones that make your jeans. So, and you've obviously played into that with ThreadFix, a little bit with the thread. So what is the origin of the name Denim Group? I'm just curious about that one.
So as far as if you think of denim, it is it's a pretty pragmatic, it's a practical fabric that people from all walks of life can use, and I think that meshes up with our approach of how do we help organizations build software that is rugged, that is reliable, but also in our approach, how do you take, we try to take a pragmatic rather than dogmatic approach. Understanding organizations have a lot of different they have a lot of different priorities, and security is one of those. And so how can we help them to make the best security decisions possible within the kind of the framework and the restrictions they have?
I was going to ask a similar question, but I was looking at their product suite and some of the other things they offer. So yeah, you've got ThreadFix, right? Thread. You've got Denim Group. Denim makes sense. But then you've got their hybrid analysis mapping, or ham. And so it's blue jeans and ham.
Goes together like chocolate and peanut butter, doesn't
This
it?
sounds amazing. Yeah. You just described me in 2 words.
I've got ham in my blue jeans right now.
So the analogy doesn't go.
The marketing team wasn't involved in the ham naming, I'm guessing. They did the denim and the ThreadFix, but not the others. All right. Well, while we've got you here, we wanted to do another fun segment. So we've got a segment actually that we've been working on about things that Don hates, because Don's just an angry person.
Like I said, spite.
Yeah, spite. Yeah, that's very opinionated about things. So I have the intro made for this segment about what Don hates, but we're actually going to find out about what Dan hates today, but it's fine because just pretend when you hear the intro that they're saying Dan and not Don. So
what Don hates. Yeah.
There you go. It's a jingle. It's my first jingle.
It's a jingle.
Pretty proud of that. I worked a long time. On
John
that.
Stamos on Full House was a jingle writer.
I didn't know that.
That was his job.
Yeah. With Jesse
Joey.
and the...
Jesse and Joey started a company.
Oh, you mean in the show?
In the show.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dan, if you're totally lost, there was a very strange John Stamos conversation before the podcast started recording.
What's the name of the band? Jesse and the Raiders?
What?
No.
We're going off the rails.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Anyway.
All right,
So I've been told, Dan, that you hate that security people think developers don't care about security. And I know this is a topic that we've actually brought up here before, because we used to have a guy, Justin, who was kind of our DevOps focus, but it sounds like you kind of come from that developer background. So give us your take on this.
Yeah, and I do come from a developer background, and that's again not unique, certainly not unique in the industry, but is, I think, notable is that I'm a developer who's come into the world of security as opposed to someone coming from a more traditional security background, audit controls or pen testing, and now looking at the security of applications. But I do a lot of speaking just as part of my job, outreach to different groups. And I remember giving a talk, had a security, like an actual curmudgeon, was in the back of the room with his arms folded. He said, we wouldn't have all this security problems. These developers just, wouldn't do such a crappy job. I was like, well, number one, sir, you must be really fun at parties, is my first observation. You're certainly somebody I'd like to get to know. And I'm also thinking you probably also get invited to 0 meetings after the first meeting that you get invited to with developers with an attitude like that. And it's something that I think the world is changing and evolving a little bit, but it is still a persistent perception, I think, among a lot of security people, is that developers simply don't care. What I've found is that developers do care, obviously to varying degrees, but developers on the whole do care. They care about security. They want to write code that is secure, but they have a lot of other priorities and commitments, right? They want to build secure code, but they also have to build new features on a timeline, right? And they also have to fix non-security related bugs that are impacting a user's experience. They have performance, deals to issue with. They have promises that were made by a hotshot VP to an important customer, and so there's a lot of demands, a lot of demand for developers' time, and again, developer time is a little bit of a zero-sum game. You only get 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day or however much Jolt Cola you are feeding your developers. And so what I think is organizations set up perverse incentives that lead developers to create less secure software. And that is where the ire of security teams should be better focused. Because again, on a whole, secure developers that I've worked with, myself as a developer, but developers I've worked with, I do a lot of training, work with different groups. They do have an interest in security. They want to do a great job, but in a lot of cases, they aren't being given the training or the tools or being given the time in order to make good security decisions. And again, like if you want to look at creating more secure code, it's not let's suppress what the developers are doing or beat them with a stick or something like that. It's how do we craft the incentive structure around them, and how do we enable them with the knowledge and with the tools so that they can produce software that has better security characteristics. And so that's
you mentioned like training and knowledge. Let me run with that for a second. So the statement that programmers don't care about security, that means they are willfully choosing to ignore it, right? That's a pretty aggressive statement. So let's change that a little bit. And what if it was programmers don't know about security? Like, do you feel that most programmers are receiving training, that they understand the importance of sanitizing data input and all that stuff? Or do you find that most programmers just don't know they need to be doing that?
Right. And so I actually gave a TEDx talk about this a couple of years ago, and that's a huge challenge. I went to Trinity University in San Antonio, excellent school. My 4-year undergrad degree in computer science, in addition to theory, also trained me vocationally as a programmer. And we talked about security in networking class, where it was who could show funny windows on the professor's workstation, and in a Linux class of like how do I fake emails as if I came from a professor. It just wasn't security at the time was viewed as something different. It's a firewall box you put in your network, not something that the developers need to think about. And so there wasn't a lot of discussion of authentication or authorization as concepts. There wasn't discussion of input validation and proper encoding, and those concepts just weren't in there. And so I think the challenge is that as an industry of again, undergraduate institutions, now code academies, vocationally creating programmers, there's just not a lot in that curriculum talking about security. And so as a result, that's something that has to be brought in. That knowledge has to be brought in aftermarket later on. And that's just a huge supply chain problem if you look at how the development industry is staffed.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go along with you on this one, because I don't see a bunch of programmers sitting around going, I can't wait till they can find a bunch of CVEs in this program I just wrote. That's going to be amazing, right? I really don't see that being the case. But we do get this idea of tribalism almost that kind of comes into IT, and it has props it set up in a lot of different places where the security people are like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you make this better? This is such baby stuff. You shouldn't have allowed this type of an attack to go through. But it's more like, hey, we're on the same team. I found some problems. Let's get together and see what we can do and make this not a problem anymore.
Right. And that's a huge thing, from a marketing standpoint, the term is overwrought, but in a world of digital transformation where organizations are really pushing, they need to move faster. They need to innovate more quickly. They're relying on developers and DevOps far more than they ever had before, because nobody wants to be the company that gets left behind because they weren't able to use the digital tools that are available. I think that puts security in a position where, to stay relevant, they need to figure out how can we be a risk advisor and an enabler for the business, as opposed to a more traditional view, which is the security folks or the Department of No, right? Where you ask something like, well, the answer is no, but first you've got to fill out these forms, right?
Yeah, it makes me
savvy
think.
security leaders are looking to say, how do we enable the business to go faster, but do so safely? And that mindset is really important these days.
Yeah, and it makes me think too. The developer is not going to become a security expert. They're going to know the things that they need to know, but you don't get the security person involved at the very end. And I come from a web development background, and I imagine it's probably the same in software development. Is it kind of used to be, hey, I'm going to build this entire product, and then I'm going to give it over to the team to run through QA and check it for bugs and things, where that needs to be happening throughout the development process, and those two need to be working together so that we don't get to the end and find all these problems. We figure out to make sure it's coded the right way from the beginning that there aren't all these holes. So.
Right. Yeah. And that's, again, you get down to the end and it's like, well, yeah, let's send it to security. Well, they're going to find a bunch of problems. And then you've got a decision. Do I push something live that I know has significant security weaknesses, or do we delay this to address the issues? And that's that's a horrible position to put any sort of a risk manager in.
And the CEO always says, push it.
Yeah.
Right?
Done is better than perfect.
That's right. Exactly. Done is better than perfect. Never mind, we've lost all our data.
Who did this?
Apparently perfect. Yeah. Developers. Yeah. It's always them. Well, that's a good point. I hate them too now.
There you go.
Not developers. I hate the security people that think developers don't.
I would just like to point out that when Daniel did his security person voice a moment ago, it sounded
Yeah.
like a surfer bully.
Yeah, that's what we are. We're just a bunch of. I'm Keanu Reeves roaming the halls of whatever company and going, "This is stupid."
Well, the surfer bully, and that would have been Patrick Swayze.
No,
right?
he wasn't the bully. It was
Yeah.
the
Oh,
dudes.
those other dudes.
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Flea and the other guy.
Anthony Cletus.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Cletus.
Isn't that his name?
And
I
again,
can't.
we're off the rails. We've
Yes.
gone off the rails once again.
Welcome to the podcast.
So if people want to find out more about Denim Group, where do they go?
They can go to www.denimgroup.com. That is the easy place to find us. If they'd like to know more about ThreadFix, you can go to threadfix.it. And that is the site specific to the software platform. I'm at Daniel Cornell on Twitter. I'm reasonably active on Twitter, and I'm sure we have at ThreadFix and at Denim Group Twitter accounts as well.
Fantastic. And I saw you guys were just rated as a top place to work in San Antonio locally. So congratulations on that as well. Anything else coming up, or it sounds like you guys are, well, we're getting to the end of the year. No one's planning conferences, and no one has conferences anymore. Anyway, what am I talking about? I'm talking like it's 2019 over here. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm due for a haircut.
Sure.
I think the consensus around the around the office, around the Zoom calls with people from the office, I'm due for a haircut. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to rolling into 2021. Hopefully, the world starts making a little bit more sense, and then we can start doing a lot more stuff in person.
Don, can we send Dan a Floby? Is that like a parting gift for being on Technado?
Do you have a spare?
I'm sure they're not expensive.
I'm sure that, like, if there was ever a demand for them, it's
4.5 stars on Amazon. I'm just saying.
Well, there you go.
That's not bad. Whoever decided to, what is that, mixing a vacuum cleaner and a
Basically,
and a razor blade? That's ingenious. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for taking the time to join us today. And it sounds like, in 18 months, again, we'll have, well, we haven't had the third, there's 3 principals, right?
We'll see if we can get Sheridan. Sheridan's the one that does the actual work, so that John and I can go and talk pretty on podcasts, go to conferences, and fly around and do all the fun stuff. So maybe we can maybe we'll be able to get Sheridan on here, and he can be like, oh, let me tell you what these guys actually.
Let me tell you about the real work that goes on here that I have to pick up for these guys. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. But everybody, stay tuned. We've got a little bit more Technado coming up right after this quick break.
The IT Pro TV app is available for iOS and tvOS. The modern user interface makes navigation easy. Recently watched videos can be found on the home screen, as well as our daily live streams. Choose landscape mode for larger viewing. Access the entire course library by clicking on the play icon. Navigate our content by category, certification, and job role. Learn where you want and when you want as a premium annual member by downloading episodes for offline viewing. Watch on the go and pick up later on any of your favorite devices. So head to the App Store and download the IT Pro TV app.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pezet, and thank you so much to Dan Cornell from Denim Group for joining us and giving us his opinion here, and we will eventually make it all the way around that company and talk to everyone, but not today, because we've got some news to get to, and our first article comes to us from slashdot.org. FCC, takes spectrum from auto industry in plan to supersize Wi-Fi. And at first, when I read this, I was like, oh, well, they're just, taking something that's not used. But it's actually a safety band that they're taking away, which seemed a little underused, but still, that's a little scary.
Yeah, so it seems like a controversial thing at first, but once you kind of dig into the details, it's not so bad. Basically, what it boils down to is that Wi-Fi spectrum is pretty limited, and so in the United States, the FCC limits that, and there have been spectrum auctions and things where people pay billions of dollars for access to particular parts of the spectrum. Well, in this case, there was a block of Wi-Fi spectrum that was assigned out, for those who care, 5.85 gigahertz through 5.925 gigahertz. I'm sure we'll all remember that in 2 minutes. That 20 years ago was set aside for what Peter was mentioning, dedicated short-range communications, or DSRC, and the intent of it was for cars to talk to each other. Right? A lot of cars have lane assist these days, right? And so if it senses you're getting close to the middle line, it can move you back into the center of the lane. Well, the idea with DSRC was that cars would talk to each other. And so you would know if you were close to a car and move apart or whatever. And that was the idea behind it. Well, it's been 20 years, and in that time, only 15,506 vehicles have been fitted with DSRC gear. So in other words, the odds of you passing by a car with DSRC is almost non-existent. So it just hasn't been used. It's been sitting there 20 years doing nothing. So the FCC finally said, you know what? If you're not going to use it, we can absolutely use that in the Wi-Fi band used by home routers and access points. And so that's what they've done. They've seized that back, and they've opened it up for immediate use. Now, this is probably not something they can push out with a firmware update, but what you'll find is in newer routers that come out, they'll be able to add some additional channels to the Wi-Fi frequencies that you pick, and that creates less congestion, which would be a nice feature.
Yeah, we do like a little less congestion when it comes to our wireless, because I don't know about you guys, I got quite a few devices on my own personal wireless. Then when people come over for things like holidays, it really gets super slow, and if you're trying to stream a game or whatever, it can get a little pixelated and crappy.
And if you live in an apartment and you're surrounded by other people with wireless routers, potentially you could have channel collisions, and this gives us more channels to avoid that. So it's a good thing all in all. Those can actually be used right now. We don't have to wait for the auto industry to decide to use it. And I think we've all seen where self-driving cars are just not ready yet.
We have held off the robot apocalypse for a little while longer, because all I see is a bunch of self-driving cars that decide, okay, they're in a really good formation, kill a bunch of these virus humans, crash, 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 crash.
Well, what they're going to start using now is Bluetooth, where they just leave the Bluetooth open on the cars, and as it gets closer, if it sees another item to connect to, another car, it goes, oh, I'm too close. Because what is it, 30 feet or so?
Like
so
that.
you can just back off.
I like how even cars know you need personal space.
Yeah. But that kind of reminds me.
Especially at 65 miles an hour.
Exactly. I got an email today when you were talking about how congested your Wi-Fi and stuff is from Amazon, talking about something called Amazon Sidewalk.
Yeah.
Where they want to let, hey, these little parts of your bandwidth you're not using, we can share them out to your neighbors.
No.
Oh, okay, let's find the button for turn that off.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna pass.
Obviously not a news article that we picked, but I think we did talk about Sidewalk a few weeks ago. But the idea, though, is if somebody's jogging by with a fitness tracker, it's communicating very little. It might be able to communicate. So, I've got Ring spotlights around the house. Or floodlights, not spotlights. I'm not a prison. On my guard towers at the house. So I've got the Ring floodlights, and so they communicate on my Wi-Fi network, and so they would extend that network outside to allow some of these devices. If you have Alexa in your car or whatever, they'd be able to communicate. It's a good idea, but it is sharing the network. And I know, I shut the Wi-Fi off in my fiber router because I don't want to be some AT&T access point. And this is kind of the same, but for Amazon. So I'm torn. I can see the good side of it, and I can see the bad.
Well, I honestly think most people don't know about it. I mean, I didn't really realize that until you had told me, Don, that my AT&T fiber internet is a hotspot for other AT&T users. I had no idea. And I think most people that sign up for accounts,
yeah.
the average user just signs the terms and conditions and doesn't realize that that all that's open. So
See, I view my wireless connectivity and as ownership is almost like one of those late 19th or 20th or early 20th century landowners where I don't need all that land, but it's mine and you can't have it.
I drink your milkshake.
Yeah.
Now, interesting kind of side story on this one. Like Comcast has data caps. That was another news story we didn't pick. They've rolled out the data caps nationwide now. Their cable modems are set up that same way, where they have a guest network you can join, and the guest network doesn't count towards your data cap. So if you're on your own network,
You just get on the guest network.
You just flip over to it, and off you go. So
Yeah, do you set up a notification for once you get to this bandwidth limit? That's now you're thinking. I like that.
That's right.
All right. Well, our next article is from what is this? Lilliputian?
Lilliputian, yes.
Okay,
yes,
so,
like the
so like
Lilliputians.
little computers, little teeny computers. All right. Ubuntu Web Remix is a Linux distro that puts Firefox front and center. It's a ChromeOS alternative, and this looks like a pretty cool little application that someone's created if you don't hate Firefox.
So this is really neat. Google released ChromeOS with their Chromebook line, and for the most part, while there are kind of open sourcey versions of it, really ChromeOS is only supported on Chromebooks, or the Chrome boxes that they have. So you're really kind of tied into this one ecosystem. And Google has made some strange choices with it. A lot of people aren't happy with. And Google tends to be a little invasive as far as getting all your personal information. So it's nice to see an alternative. Here it's a stripped down version of Ubuntu Linux that is designed to run Firefox in a very Chromebook-like way. So if you install it on a laptop, it's lightweight, you don't need a lot of hardware, and you basically get the same functionalities as a Chromebook. You don't get the enterprise management stuff if you use that, but as a standalone, it's basically the same, except you get Firefox instead of Chrome, which some people like. I'm not a fan of Firefox, but some people are. But also, it is a full-blown version of Linux, and so you could potentially install whatever software you wanted on it. And it has an Android application emulation layer, so you can run some Android apps on it as well. So it's a good Chromebook alternative.
That's what I liked about it. Was not so much like I use Firefox and it's fine. I use Chrome when I need to use Chrome, and that's fine as well. But the idea of taking a Chromebook and you can do it. You can turn a Chromebook into kind of a Linux distribution. It's a bit of a pain. You got to jump through some hoops.
Or so Crouton, where it's kind of fake.
Right. Having an actual Ubuntu distro running on pretty cheap hardware and being able to do some day-to-day tasks, that does appeal to me.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of the Chromebook is it's obviously really cheap because it's doesn't have to be a really high-end system. So are there computers out there that you could buy like that aren't Chromebooks that you could kind of just turn into this?
Oh,
thing?
yeah. I mean, you can go down to Best Buy and buy a Windows machine for $200, and it's slow as a dog, and then you throw something like this on it, and it runs fine.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could use this on maybe that old laptop you have sitting around the house that doesn't run so hot anymore because this would be like a little bit less drain on it.
And even some Chromebooks, they're depending on the vendor that you bought from, some of the Chromebooks support flashing the BIOS with, I think they call it CBIOS or something like that, that allows you to boot non-Chrome OS operating systems, and you could boot this.
Like you could dual boot it, or
no, you could just format.
You would just format it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I mean, in an age too where we're talking about learning from home for a lot of people, other options like this. That I mean, I assume since this is Ubuntu that someone made, it's free.
Oh yeah, absolutely free, and it's not that just someone made it; it's that Canonical made it. So this is an officially supported release from them. Yep.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I saw the developer's name here. I didn't realize that it was official, so that's cool. So that means
you know what? Hang on, I'm going to back that statement back up then, because it does say that Rudra Saraswat decided to build a Chrome OS alternative, but I could have swore I saw it available. Oh shoot. Okay, so it is an extra developer that made it, but is using applications from the /e/ project.
That's what it is.
Which is what used to be the Unity interface for Canonical's Ubuntu. So there is some official support behind the scenes, but the actual distro is wrapped up by someone else. Yep.
Okay, and maybe if Ubuntu sees this really taken off to Canonical, that they might jump in and help out too.
I mean, they did that with Xubuntu and Kubuntu and all those variations, so it could be the same.
All right, very cool. Check that out. Our next article comes to us from zdnet.com, and I love this one. The worst passwords of 2020 shows we are just as lazy about security as ever. And the subtitle is, can't we do any better than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah, we could add 7.
2020 still getting 1 star on Amazon.
Well, yeah, we have all this extra time now. We could be coming up with great passwords, but it really just seems like when you go down the list of the top the top 10 they've got here, it's just an issue of, well, how many characters do I need? 8? All right, well then I'll count to 8.
Yeah. They took a bunch of databases from compromised companies. So, companies got hacked, their databases got released online, and so they gathered those up. They had 275 million passwords that were leaked in this manner. They took that and they analyzed it. Now, they just did ones that were released in 2020 because, we see these every year, and they found that not much has changed. Number 1 is indeed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 2 is a little bit stronger at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so definitely stepping up. But there was a new one on the list. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Number 3, Picture 1.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that one out.
Yeah, I'm like, where is this coming from?
So I'm going to wager that one of the database breaches must have been like a photo hosting site.
It had to be.
And then that's why you've got Picture 1, because there's a lot of environmental things that impact this stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's 371,000 uses, which is a big jump from, number 1 is 2.5 million uses. Number 2 is almost 1 million. So it's a big jump down to between 1 and 2.
yeah. So maybe there was some company that was using that as like the default password for an account, and then they'd make you do a password reset after the account was created,
Yeah.
and so that resulted in skewing it.
I had to look up number 10. Do you guys know what that is? So number 10 on this list is Senha.
I meant to look that up before the show, and I did not.
No,
Any guesses?
I missed it. What is it?
It's Brazilian for password.
Oh, fun.
So I'm guessing one of the sites was from Brazil. And I like, too, in the article, they point out that among the top 200 was the word whatever.
Whatever.
Which is kind of just
That's going to be my password.
great. Yeah, it just shows, how much people care about what you got to do.
Or
there.
your password is 8 asterisks.
Yeah. I love how it said that only 44% of that huge, gigantic number that Don rattled off was of those recorded were considered unique.
Yeah.
So, like, if you've got yourself some good password lists,
Yeah, because they said
you're probably cracking some.
What did they say?
passes.
The dictionary-based ones are the ones that they'll run through first. And I mean, I got to think, even if you had a dictionary-based thing, that you would just put the word password on top of it to run first, and you'd be into.
Yeah, most of the
first.
dictionary lists that I've worked with have prioritized more common stuff at the beginning, and then you hit here's everything else, and you start working your way through it.
Yeah, because what's cool on this chart where they show the order, it also shows the time to crack it, and the first 2 are less than a second. The Picture 1, I guess, because it has a combination of letters and a number, it takes 3 hours. So honestly, that's the most secure. The most
the
secure
top
on
10.
here.
You got 3 good hours before someone comes rapping at your door.
Yeah.
And you have to change it to Picture 2.
Yeah,
like
crap.
capital
Well,
P.
It just highlights again how important it is to use multi-factor authentication and to use a password manager so you can easily generate complex passwords and not reuse them on any 2 sites.
Yeah, you know what I like about password managers? I don't even know my password. Like, if you held me at gunpoint, it was like, your kids are gonna die if you don't tell us your password to your I'm like, I guess they're smoked because I have no clue.
What I like
that
about the password
is.
manager too is it tells you, you've used this password on another site.
yeah.
And you go, oh crap, I did. You're right, I did.
a-holes. You're doing that password reuse thing we don't like.
It's like, I'm gonna let you do it still, but I'm gonna shame
I'm just
you.
gonna let you know you're dumb.
Yeah. Well, you do at least know the password to your password manager, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
you
the
could
only
give that
password.
to the
But if
to the
you're,
terrorists.
you're beating up on the stinking picture here, Peter.
What?
The idea of someone holding a gun. That's funny.
You ruined the story.
You keep
Way to go, Peter.
saying
point
you
out
guys-
plot holes.
No, you don't want that password, guys. Let me actually give you
This
my
ain't Back to
password
the
manager.
Future.
Then you get all of my passwords.
Now wait, so why did Obi-Wan disappear when he died, but Darth Vader
Because
didn't?
Jean-Luc
I mean, this
Picard-
doesn't make any sense.
He beamed Obi-Wan off.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right.
Okay, so
That's what we'll have comments about. This
Yeah,
week.
it's true.
All right, our next article comes from securityledger.com. Security holes opened backdoor to TCL Android smart TVs. And I don't know if this has been patched yet, and you guys can tell me, but what I do know is that I have 2 of these TVs back in the closet in our office because
You
these
are
are the
screwed.
TVs we used for trade shows, and that ain't happening anytime soon. So if we want to bust one of these out today, let's have some fun.
All right, so there was basically a big vulnerability found in many TCL Android smart TVs. So these are TVs that are very, very common. especially right now. We're going into the holiday, the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. Best Buy sells the hell out of TCL TVs. So does Walmart. They're usually really reasonably priced, and they're smart TVs. They partner with Roku, so most of the Roku TVs that are out there are from TCL. And so there is a remote attack available where an attacker can gain access to the system and do all sorts of crazy stuff with it. A security researcher found this out and went through the process of reporting it, which turns out was borderline impossible to do. They found no human being they could contact at TCL, and the security email address bounces, so it wasn't a valid address.
That's great.
Did it just come back with like an ASCII middle finger?
Yeah. So he ended up having to call Roku, and the Roku people put them in contact with TCL and then got a response. Now, that's good. That means it is patched, right?
I like how the security researchers had to hack contacting the security people at this company.
Yeah, I had to social engineer you to get your home phone number.
So here's the thing, though. TCL fixed it, and they pushed out a patch to repair it. Now, the security researcher was watching for this, and here's what they found. TCL silently pushed out a patch that updated the TV, that blocked the port that the attackers are able to use to connect. Now, they did this with absolutely no messaging on the TV, no warning, no communication, and in fact, even the version number of the software, the firmware on the TV, did not change. And so what that says is, one, they can fix this really fast and automatic, which is nice, and two, TCL can do whatever the hell they want with your TV at any moment's notice. And so, they are capable of remotely connecting into any TCL television on the entire planet with no password, no confirmation. You'll see nothing on screen. And so the security researcher, John Jackson, he said that while it's good they fixed it, it's bad that you've got this company that you know nothing about. They're, I believe they are a Chinese
If I
company.
may,
They
from
are a Chinese
Wikipedia,
company,
yeah.
yes.
TCL Technology is a Chinese multinational electronics company.
I'm sensing a pattern here, Don,
Yeah.
with these Chinese companies.
Well,
No, you just found the back door we put in. This is not.
Yeah.
So does it say that TCL is state? It would be state
It doesn't
controlled,
say
right?
if it's state or not. It's not what I'm seeing in the article anyway.
I know China's.
It is under the. So there was a part in this article that talked about companies that. Here it is. The vulnerabilities raise serious questions about cybersecurity of consumer electronics that are being widely distributed to the public. TCL, a mainland Chinese firm, is among those that have raised concerns in the U.S. intelligence community and among law enforcement and lawmakers, alongside firms like Huawei, which has been labeled a national security threat, ZTE, and Lenovo.
All right. TCL was originally founded as a state-owned enterprise, and they became publicly traded in 2004. So, yes, they are state-owned.
Well, there you go.
Yep. So, effectively, if a war ever broke out between countries or whatever, China can shut your TVs off.
Yeah. Or they can watch you, right? Because a lot of these these TVs have cameras,
could
and they
be.
can
I don't
download.
know. Now,
Well, they can watch
Roku-
the show with you.
Pivot from your TV to other devices.
The Roku TVs have microphones in the remotes,
Right.
so there is that. So
Yeah.
definitely on the microphone side. I don't know about cameras, though. I haven't
Yeah.
had a TV with a
It
camera.
says in the article that they were able to view camera files and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
There you go.
So I know that most likely the hack involved getting the TV so they could use it as part of a botnet or something to mine Bitcoin or attack other sites, and that's great. But I think it would be fun if you could just control what was on someone's TV. Do you think I could do that if I had access through this?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And the lesson here is that we should all be buying American TVs from brands like
Hold on. Maytag?
Zenith? They're Mexican, right?
Samsung? No.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain there are no American
We just
TV
stopped watching
manufacturers,
TV.
right?
So it does say right here, I love this part. It said that, and while disputes over Chinese apps like TikTok dominate the headlines, a recent report from the firm Insights on China's growing cyber risk notes that the Chinese Communist Party is engaged in a far broader campaign to elevate the country to a superpower status by treating, quote, data as the most valuable asset.
Aren't they already a superpower? Like
I would
China?
assume, they're nuclear and everything.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I guess they're trying to push that even super
duper power?
Become the only superpower.
Yeah.
The only superpower. Yeah. Huh. Well, that's
All right.
fun.
Well, anyhow, so
Anyhow.
it goes back to IoT is a huge threat, and you
It
cannot
is
trust
indeed.
devices on your network, and you should be leveraging a firewall when possible.
Amen.
I'm going to take those two TVs out, and I'm going to plug them in and let them get that little patch.
Let them silently
Yeah.
update.
Yeah.
that no one will know.
Good times. Good times.
That's horrible. All right. Our next article comes from KrebsOnSecurity.com. GoDaddy employees used in attacks on multiple cryptocurrency services. And so to clarify, the GoDaddy employees are unwitting members of this attack. They
Correct.
were, socially engineered to, or phished or whatever to get there.
This is very similar to the Twitter Bitcoin scam just a
Right.
few months ago.
If
with
it ain't broke, Don.
Yeah, I mean, the stack works everywhere. So attackers socially engineered a couple of employees at GoDaddy to be able to gain access to administrative tools that allowed them to take over and redirect several domains. They did not transfer the domains out, but they did change things like MX records to take over email domains to allow additional account takeover and compromise of company systems. They focused on Bitcoin exchanges or cryptocurrency exchanges. I don't think they limited themselves to Bitcoin. And so they're able to wreak a little havoc. Now, it's interesting because it mentions that 28,000 of its customers' web hosting accounts were compromised. But later on, like in their official statement, many times they say very few of our customers, a very small subset of our employees, like apparently 28,000 is a small number to them. But either way,
It's a relative term.
it
Only
does
10%.
show how important it is. Like these big companies, GoDaddy's a massive company, and they've got a cybersecurity team. Like they acquired Media Temple, they acquired Securi, so they have a whole security team, and this happened. So the big danger here, in my opinion, is these are DNS domains, right? Domains in the IT world, especially in this day and age of web applications, your DNS domain is like the most important asset you have, right? Imagine you're an online retailer and you do $500,000, $1 million in sales a day, and somebody takes over your domain. All right, well, your sales just dropped to zero. Your customers are getting compromised left and right, and you can do nothing about it because a registrar controls your domain, not you. And so now you have to spend 3, 7, 10 days, however long. They're saying in this case, they had access for something like 6 months. So, potentially you could be without your domain for quite a stretch of time before you finally get it back. And when you get it back, you're not necessarily going to be generating revenue right now because your customers are pretty pissed, and it's just a whole train wreck. So the domain naming system that's in place right now is extremely vulnerable, and that's why technologies like DNSSEC have been coming out. But if the registrars aren't securing, if they're not taking the extra precautions to stay safe, then it's a losing battle for us.
Hey, at least it was only 6 months, right? I think the average time for a
Significantly
breach is
longer.
like 280 days, almost like 9 months. So they're actually doing really well. They beat the curve. Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, a small number for a short time, according to them.
Exactly. See,
When you just spin it right, when you get the PR team involved.
that's all you need.
So it says the attack had been going on for about 6 months. They gained access, but where they actually started going after, like liquid.com was one of them. That started on November 13th. So it's just a couple of weeks on that one. So that's not too bad.
Not too bad.
But in this case, using multi-factor authentication, not trusting people that call you on the phone. This was a phone-based social engineering attack. You'd think that you can train people to be protected from this, but it's just something we're continually saying.
It's hard. We have, social constructs and things that people take advantage of, and people want to be helpful. And if you sound like you got the right game, people are unfortunately very susceptible to falling for that because it sounds right, it seems right. And maybe that little nagging voice in the back of my head telling me don't do this is just me being paranoid. That's the kind of stuff that these people prey on, and they're not going to get everybody, but it only takes one, right? And then they got the things they need, and boom, they're in, causing all sorts of damage.
See, the good thing is I feel I am extremely susceptible. I'm nice. I want to please people.
Right.
I don't want to piss people off. I'm not that smart, but you couple that with the fact that I don't have access to things. So we've talked about privileged access before. I mean, the best thing you're going to get from me, is a T-shirt. Probably you can log into our T-shirt vendor. Maybe you can get a free ITPR TV account.
But what I do is I send, if I can compromise you, I can send emails as you, and then that is legit.
No, because you're assuming people trust me. If I asked others in the company for important things, they go, What are you doing up at 9 a.m.?
Yeah,
you don't get up before the crack of noon.
Yeah. in the certificate world, right, where you have a certificate authority, right?
It's fun to say.
The root CA is typically air-gapped, right? It's typically offline, very secure. They don't want anybody getting at the root CA because then you could issue whatever search you wanted, right? it seems like we should really have that for DNS, that like the registrars, the tools for managing it, they need to be highly secured so that some attacker can't just VPN in from Moscow or
start
wherever.
stealing domain names at their leisure.
Well, wasn't that what we talked about with Twitter? Those accounts that they were going after in the hack were the high-level accounts where you need a certain level of access, or
Right.
you got to have
OG
a couple
accounts
people
and
turn their
stuff,
keys at the same time, kind of thing. I mean, that's what you need for domains, because if you get a hold of something like that, I guess the registrar, are they able to reverse that then?
Oh yeah. And in this case, they did reverse it. But there's a lot of damage that's done while that domain is taken over, and it takes a while to sort itself out.
We've talked about if you took over Amazon for an hour, how much money are you, are you out at that point?
And imagine you have been busting your butt. You'll like this, Peter. It's a marketing thing. You've been busting your butt on establishing great SEO, right? Search engine optimization. Google has indexed your site, and then an attacker redirects the site. So now the Google crawler hits it and sees malware. They're going to yank you out of the results.
Yeah, you're not only low, you're gone. Yeah.
So now you get the domain back, and you've got to spend months trying to rebuild your SEO reputation. That's the type of damage that can be done here. So if you haven't already, make sure that you've got transfer locks turned on your domain. Make sure that you're using some kind of proxy for anonymizing yourself. You don't want to share your contact credentials with your DNS registration. So most of them support doing some kind of masked registration. Make sure you do that. Multi-factor, you need to be monitoring your DNS records so that you know the moment they change, if a change does happen. These are all things that you need to have in place that are really super important.
And my approach, don't answer the phone. I've got an extension here. That phone on my desk has been unplugged for at least 9 months.
I don't answer the phone when I know it's the actual person on the other end.
Right. if it's important, I'll leave a message.
Message, exactly. And I'm probably still not going to call back. I'll send them an email. Then at that point.
I thought about it. That counts for something, right?
Yeah, that's what you do. If someone calls you, get the message, email them back, and then when they go, what is this about? I didn't call
email
you.
it to their sign-up account email address that they never check.
Yeah, if it's important, they'll check it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a lot coming up. First of all, we have a webinar coming up on December 10th. It is how to make vSphere 7.0 work for you. Upgrade to the latest version or the latest release from VMware, because we're doing VMware month in the month of December here. So that's 2 p.m. Eastern on December 10th. So head over to itpro.tv/webinars where you can sign up for that one. You can also check out all the past webinars that we have there. We've got a couple cool ones from this month that we did about certain Nexus stuff. One about mobility and self-driving cars and getting into that field, so that's pretty cool. You can check that all out at itpro.tv/webinars. And I guess we probably have to update that webinar now if you can no longer use that Wi-Fi range, those gigahertz. So got less gigahertz now that you can use. And while you're on that internet, head over to go.itpro.tv/Technado. You can get a 30% off coupon code, and that is 30% off for the lifetime of your account, for your personal account. And you can also request a team trial and training for your team and find out about all the cool features available for groups of 2 or more. That's all at go.itpro.tv/Technado. And then starting on November 30th, we're launching the first in the series of unboxing videos called the 12 Days of IT. If you head to itpro.tv/12 days, you can sign up, because we're going to have 12 different unboxing videos of really cool tech products, ranging from little things to some great big prizes. That's taking place with one coming out every day. And then on December 11th, we're going to draw names, and we're going to give all that stuff away. So there's a chance now to head over to itpro.tv/12 days and enter to win. I know, Don, you did a couple of them. You did we can talk about what they are now. You did a YubiKey, and you did a Raspberry Pi cluster, right?
Yep, the Turing Pi cluster.
That was awesome. And then, Daniel, you did a couple things from Hack 5.
Yeah, Bash Bunny and a Wi-Fi pineapple.
And you put some malware then in the...
Wouldn't be Christmas if it didn't have a gift in it.
Yeah. Here's the package for you. Fantastic. But yeah, head over to itpro.tv/12 days. Sign up for that. It's a lot of fun. And we got the first video going out November 30th. So be sure to check that out. All right. Thanks again to Dan Cornell. Easiest name I've ever had to remember.
Yeah.
Two Dans and a Don. Can't make it any easier on me. Thanks, guys. And happy Thanksgiving.
For everyone in the United States.
Yes.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. You can.
There are other countries that have Thanksgivings. We'll go ahead and either preemptively or retroactively
appropriate them.
Yes, or just
Well,
give
we
them
can
thanks.
wish you a happy one. Yeah,
Exactly.
even if it's 6 months out of date.
Happy
Happy time.
Thanksgiving, whenever that may be for you.
And
Have a happy Thanksgiving. And for the record, my Wi-Fi runs on 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh wow, that's like a lightning bolt.
Is that nuclear?
Fission. Was it Mr. Fission? Mr. Fusion?
Fusion. Fusion. It was fusion. Yeah. If it was fission, it was fission originally, I guess.
I have no idea.
And enjoy Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Hell yeah.
Big times. All right, we'll see you guys next week right here on Technado with Don Pezet.